Unturned has come a long way. The game in its current state has, at least visually, not much in common with the early versions of Unturned, but what will Nelson add to the game in future patches? Let's have a talk about that. Hey guys, welcome back. Have you ever randomly thought about a feature which should be added into Unturned while playing? I'm sure you have. One thing which came to my mind recently was an idea about skins. People upload awesome skins to the workshop almost daily, and to be honest, some of them are pretty nice. Nelson has already realized that skins are pretty awesome and therefore introduced skins to all kind of guns. Since a recent patch, you're even able to put skins on your can of beans. So you can now literally have a burning hypertech can of beans.
Wow!
Awesome, Nelson. Personally, I think it's pretty funny, although he might be taking it a little too far with the skins in this one, but nevertheless, there are other objects where skins would be great to see. Have you ever thought about skins on cars, as an example? In my opinion, this would be awesome. Now, of course, Nelson could not only add camo skins to cars, but maybe something like a little more fancy. Maybe chrome tires, as an example.
We had to hook you up with some fat chrome.
Damn, son.
Now, obviously, some people will understandably go rage at this and be like, why would you add chrome tires to vehicle in an apocalypse? And yes, good point. Probably no one would add chrome tires to his car in the zombie apocalypse. But let me point out that Unturned is not really your traditional survival game. I mean, look at it. It's so colorful, so nice looking, compared to something like DayZ. See the difference? I think chrome tires would fit just fine. Car skins would just be a nice option to further customize your personal vehicle in Unturned and add a little more variety to the car world. Now, let's keep talking about the cars for a second, since I have another idea. Car plates. Maybe Nelson could make it so car plates would automatically have the name of your group painted on them. That way everybody knows who they are dealing with when you're driving by. Pretty awesome, isn't it?
Woo! Y'all gon' make me lose my mind. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me go all out. Up in here. Up in here. Y'all gon' make me act a fool. Up in here, up in here. Y'all gon' make me lose my cool. Up
Now, let's get away from cars and skins and talk about something new. Firepower. Obviously, everybody has played with the thoughts of having rockets on a helicopter. Of course, as vehicles work in Unturned right now, you can use your RPG to wreck people, but this would not be nearly as epic as killing them in a bombing run, right? Now, wait a second, Swiss, you might say. You can't let helicopters have rockets. What if you're getting wrecked by a helicopter with rockets? That's not so funny, right? Exactly. Now, here are two ideas on how to balance a helicopter properly. Firstly, there should be some kind of guided anti-air rocket launchers. That would be rare, obviously, but they would shoot down a helicopter with a chance of maybe 80 to 90%. And maybe Nelson could also add countermeasures to military helicopters, to at least give the pilot some chance to survive one attack. But that's up to Nelson how he wants to do it in the details. But I think the idea of having rockets on a helicopter, if there's some kind of countermeasure on the ground, that would be pretty nice actually. The second thing we could do to balance helicopters with guns would be ammo. We could give every helicopter only 6 to 8 rockets to use maybe, but those rockets would, similar to fuel tanks, regenerate very slowly. And last but not least, you should always keep in mind that as long as you're a good shooter, you can snipe people out of helicopters pretty easily. And obviously, if Nelson is going to add rockets to helicopter, he could do the same to, well, tanks. I think he could even use the same system. The vehicles could only have a few rounds to fire, but they will automatically and slowly regenerate. Alright, let's get back to something more basic. I'm talking about a more complex health system. Currently, you're only having a few health states in Unturned. Nothing means good, bleeding means not so good, and other than that, there are just a few things like broken bones or radiation, which are not so good too. However, there's no real illness at this moment, or something like sickness. This would be really nice. The only thing that you can have is the radiation bar, which basically shows how infected you are. At the moment, the infection bar will simply decrease when you eat something below the condition of 50% or get hit by a zombie, and of course, obviously in a radiation zone. And once the bar is at 0%, well, you just start taking damage and die. But I think Nelson could make it a little more interesting. Firstly, the infection bar would have 3 stages instead of 1. As long as your infection bar is inside the first stage, which would be about 60 to 100%, you would be just fine. Nothing would happen, and you would be perfectly healthy. As soon as your infection bar would decrease to the second bar, there would be a possibility that you will get infected with small and relatively harmless infections. As an example, your character will get a light fever or maybe start sneezing frequently. And now, depending on what kind of illness you have, you must use different medicine to treat it. You can't simply use tablets all the time like you can now, and it will just heal everything. As an example, sneezing could be treated with antibiotics, while fever needs to be treated by using something else. In case you don't treat those small infections, your infection bar would decrease even more. When it comes into the third area, you would experience severe health issues. Your vision would start to blur, similar to like it is now, like grey out and blur and everything. And maybe your hands would start shaking. Maybe you would even pass out from time to time, which would be a really cool feature. It already existed in Arma 2, Epoch, I think. And I thought of this as a really cool feature. As soon as you have really big health issues, that you can pass out from time to time. I think this would add a lot more depth to the health system and would make it a lot more interesting. Nelson could even implement the berries into this cycle. As an example, whenever you start to sneeze, you could eat some green berries and you will be treated. This would make berries even more interesting than they are now. Last but not least, I want to talk about custom objects. Quite a few people have made custom objects by now and uploaded their creations to the workshop. However, making a custom object is insanely complex and it takes a long time to learn. Trust me. I think Nelson should definitely add a more user-friendly way of making custom objects. I'm thinking of some kind of 3D editor maybe, where you could form and texture 3D objects easily, maybe similar to the Cube engine. In case you never heard of the Cube engine, it's an open source game engine which allows you to create 3D levels extremely easily. And something like this would be so nice for Unturned. All you need to do is select an area and push or pull it. And in that way you're able to create everything starting from simple cubes all the way up to extremely complex buildings. Having a feature like that in Unturned would be really nice, since it would allow all the map makers to make custom objects for their maps in a very simple manner, and therefore expand the variety of maps hugely. I mean, imagine you could create a custom skyscraper from the ground up in just a few seconds and use it on your map. Awesome. In case you want to take a look at the Cube engine by yourself, the link is in the description. Also, tell me what you think of these changes or if I missed anything important. Thank you for watching. I'll see you until next time.